Did you know your goals are actually getting in the way of your success? Now, don't get me wrong. I love goals. 15 years ago, I picked up Brian Tracy's book called Goals. I was a fan of Brian's work, and at that point, I thought goals were a good idea. By the time I'd finished that book, goals were no longer an idea that was good. They were actually something that was an integral part of everything that I do. And for the last 15 years, I have had goals in every single part of my life. I've had short-term goals, medium-term goals, long-term goals, and my life is so much better because of those goals. But at the exact same time, there's a flip side to goals. Goals give us a target, but they also create expectation. They give us something to shoot for, which also gives us the ability to be let down. So sometimes having goals do not become a motivating factor, but instead they get in our way of taking action because we don't want to fail. So today what I'm going to do as we continue our Healing and Transformational Fundamentals series, I'm going to share with you a second goal to add to your first goal, which will make things so much easier for you, keep you motivated, and supercharge the goals you already have. This is Monterastelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 583, originally aired November 1st, 2023. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you well, wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to consume this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today, as we continue the series on Healing and Transformational Fundamentals, I'm going to share with you a goal that I have added to my life that I use in short-term ways, and I mean that in short-term ways, a goal for the next 6.5 seconds, but also in long-term ways that supercharge my goals and to make sure that I keep moving forward in an effective way. Now, as we talk about creating change and moving forward and removing the resistance to taking action, not only having goals is useful, but also being able to clear the resistance to executing those goals. And so for me, the way I do that is I use a really, really simple tool called tapping. If you are new to tapping, all you need to do is follow the little red arrow in the upper right-hand corner, and it will share everything that you need to know so you can get the most out of tapping to eliminate self-sabotage and move forward in an effective way. So as you implement everything that we're talking about today, you'll have one more tool to make it even easier to do exactly that. You will find no bigger proponent of goals than me. I love goals. Goals are so useful. They are so effective. And like I said at the top, I use goals every single day in short-term ways and just long-term ways. And there's three primary things that goals do for us. First, they give us direction. We know what we are shooting for. The subconscious mind does not want us to waste energy, and it doesn't want us to take action for something that is not going to be useful. And so what the subconscious mind does to keep us safe is if there isn't a clarity of direction, it's going to keep us stuck in this spot. Because thousands of years ago when we were walking somewhere, if we started walking in one direction and we realized it was the wrong direction for us to go, we physically had to turn around, come back to where we were starting and head in the new direction. So it took us longer to get where we were going, and that was a huge waste of energy. Now, for most of us, we might walk from here to there, but it's not how we navigate the world in a primary way. But the subconscious mind takes that story and applies it to everything. It doesn't want me to work at my computer if it doesn't know the direction it's at. It doesn't want me to work on my health if there's not a direction involved. Because it feels like if there's not a tangible direction, we could be heading in the wrong direction. And so it wants to save energy. So the first thing a goal does is it gives us direction, which helps the subconscious mind to relax because it knows we're moving with purpose. The second thing that goals do is they help us to figure out what the next step is. You know, if I'm standing here and I want to get there, then I can start to see, my mind starts to solve the problem of what I need to do next. If I want to do something in my business, I don't have something, but I know I want a website, a podcast, a video series. The moment I name the goal, my subconscious mind, even if it can't figure out, and my conscious mind, even if it can't figure out the entire plan, what it starts to do is it starts to figure out what are the steps that I can take that start moving me in that way. So by simply naming where I want to go, if I then follow that up with the next question of my goal is, well, what's my first action? Something's going to come to mind, and it's going to make it so much easier for me to move forward. The third thing that goals do is they give us a measuring stick to evaluate. I am standing here. I want to be there. What's the difference between those two things? I start taking action. I now know where I'm standing after I take action. Am I closer to my goal? Am I further from my goal? Am I in the exact same spot? And so since I have something to measure off of, it gives me a tool of being able to do evaluation. So all three of those things are super powerful. It gives us direction. It helps us to figure out steps. It gives us the ability to evaluate. But there is a flip side to that third part there. There's a flip side to having something to evaluate off of, because the moment I have something to evaluate myself on, I now have a way of judging myself as failing. I now have a way to look at what I am doing is not working. Years and years ago, I heard the former NBA basketball coach Stan Van Gundy say, and I know he didn't originate the thought, but he was the person I heard it from first. And what he said in an interview was, happiness is outcome divided by expectation. Happiness is outcome divided by expectation. And what that means is we determine our sense of happiness based on not what we accomplished, but what we accomplished in terms of what we are trying to achieve. So for example, if I told you today I got 8 things crossed off of my to-do list, is that a good day or a bad day? Well, it depends. If I wanted to get 6 things done and I got 8 things done, it was an awesome day because I accomplished way more than I thought. If I wanted to get 10 things done today and I only got 8 done, now I feel bad because I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. Happiness is outcome, the number of things I got done, divided by expectation, the number of things that I wanted to do. And so this is how goals can get us in trouble, or they can cause some emotional discomfort for us as we are trying to move forward. Because I'm in a circumstance where I now have something that says I am not doing a good enough job. And when I'm not doing a good enough job, it's really, really easy to become demotivated, to beat myself up, to think it's the wrong goal, to think I am failing, to think I'm a horrible person, to think that I never deserve anything good for the rest of my life. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, the way that kind of grew and grew and grew in these horrible stories, but you've spent time inside of your own subconscious mind. You have heard your own critical voice. As silly as that sounds intellectually, your subconscious mind, your critical voice, has probably said something like that to you before. Oh, you failed at this thing, you're a failure, and you'll never amount to anything. And so it's important for us, as we are navigating all of this, to be able to hold all of this in context. So for me, the way that I mitigate that concern about feeling like I'm failing because of what is going on is I like to have a second goal. And the second goal is I want it to be better. That's it. As I put some effort in today, I want it to be better. And all the time when I'm working with my clients and I'm working with my students, I say, well, if you notice, if we do that, it'll make things easier. It'll make things faster. It'll make things better. It will make you happier. And then I almost always follow it up by, it will make it easier, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll make it easy. It will make it better, but that doesn't mean it will make it perfect. It will make you happier, but it won't necessarily make you happy. Because the reality is every single time I make something a little bit better, it really makes things easier for me. So one of the ways I like to think about this, just as a concept, is the emotional scale. Now, there are lots and lots of versions of emotional scales out there. And basically, the way an emotional scale works is the bottom of the emotional scale is the worst emotion we can feel, where the top of the emotional scale is the best emotion we can be. And rarely are we in a circumstance where we go from depressed to euphoric, like we move our way up it as things change. The same can also be true as we go down, but there are rare occasions where we can make big jumps. All of a sudden, I got a job that I didn't expect to get. I have someone in my life suffer a catastrophe. Things get significantly worse. But for the most part, the things that happen in our life happen incrementally. We move up, we move down. And so instead of going, my goal is to be euphoric today, which I am open to, which would be awesome, Instead, when I sit down to tap in the morning, I tune into where I am emotionally as I think about today, and I want better. Because the reality is, if I am angry, I'm probably not going to make good choices, but I'm going to make better choices at angry than I am depressed. Depressed is lower on the emotional scale. When I am depressed, I'm not doing anything. When I'm angry, I'm at least taking action. Now, not the best action, not perfect, but it's better than being depressed. Stepping into something being really, really frustrated, it's going to make it hard for me to focus. It's going to make me difficult to be present to what's going on, but I can be more focused. I can be more present when I'm frustrated than when I'm angry. So the second goal that I add to everything is, how can I make this a little bit better? How can I get a little closer to my goal? How can I feel a little more energy? How can I improve my emotion just a little bit? How can I be a little more focused? Because if things are a little bit better, it makes it easier to be present in the next moment. And the really cool thing is each time I step up that emotional scale, I'm in a better resource state, which makes stepping up the next step a little bit easier. Now, again, you'll notice I didn't say easy. It's not like I just go boop, 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 and move all the way up. But as I go from depressed to angry, it's easier for me to go from angry to frustrated. As I go from frustrated to disappointed, that's an easier step. But sometimes I stay frustrated. Sometimes I stay angry. But that's okay, because if I am better, the next thing I do is going to be easier, more efficient, more effective. So next time you sit down to do something, it is awesome, it is perfect, it is useful for you to have the end in mind. And at the exact same time, what I would encourage you to do is to add a second goal. I would like this to be a little better. And figure out what better is. Easy, fast, healthier, stronger, more focused, whatever it is. But what does that little better version of it go to you? You know, one of the mantras that has been running through my head for the last 18 months, and a lot of my teaching has been built on this, is first action, best action. What is the first action I can take so that when I take action, it is the best action possible? And so for me, making my resource state a little bit better, if that's my first action, I take 3 minutes and I tap to deal with the frustration. I take 2 minutes to do some stretching so my lower back isn't aching, so when I sit down to work, I can be more effective. That first action of making things a little bit better makes taking the next action the best action it can possibly be. And again, you'll notice I didn't say perfect, and the best action might not even be great, but it's better than not. So that is the thing I would like to encourage you to incorporate what you're doing. That is part 17 of our series on healing and transformational fundamentals. As you look at the screen right now, you can see a little playlist that you can click on so you can go back and check out the earlier parts of the playlist. And if the entire playlist is done, you're coming to us after I've recorded all of this, every single step is there for you right away. Enjoy that particular playlist.